Good morning. I've got a really just gorgeous, relaxed, easy day today. So I thought I would share that with you. I'm going to be making a delicious roast, and I've also just got a very sort of easy day in the cottage garden. And I thought that we would just sort of spend the day together, and I'd bring you along as I'm just doing some of my chores and things like that. It probably doesn't look like it from the angle that we're at right now, but we had an absolutely wild storm last night, and I actually managed to get a few clips of it. So actually I wanted to share it with you because it was just epic. This storm. I haven't seen anything like that in a very long time. So I'm actually going to insert those clips here now. So the first few clips is sort of like the storm rolling in, and then you'll see we end up getting hail, and then just the lightning was just wild, and the thunder and all of that. So if you're not somebody who likes storms, maybe just fast forward the next few minutes. as you can see from those clips, it was truly a wild storm. And then today, it is just blue skies. So, I am going to head into the kitchen now, make myself some breakfast first up. I'm going to put the roast on, and then we did sustain a little bit of damage in the back garden here. So we might just go outside and sort of see what damage, see what we need to do to make some repairs. And then, as I said, I've just got just a really nice day in the garden. I've got fertilizing to do, cutting back, the kale's sort of done now. I need to pull all of that out. So we will do that together. As I said, I just wanted to get a roast going this morning. It is actually still quite early, so it is a bit early to put a roast on. Normally I would put it on in the slow cooker probably from about 10 a.m. It would go on low until about 6 p.m. We are a couple of hours before 10 a.m., but my slow cooker has a warming function. So I'll just, after it's been in for a sufficient number of hours, I'll just switch it to the warming function. But I'm actually going to be making a roast leg of lamb today. So I have a local butcher that I go to, and they do up these really amazing legs of lamb. So it's an easy carve leg of lamb. There's no bone or anything like that in it. And they have actually already as you can see, they've actually marinated this for me. So that's what you can see. All of this stuff here, that's actually marinade. I think it's a mint and sort of like honey or something like that marinade. They're absolutely delicious. But yes, so that is the roast that I'm going to pop on this morning. It's probably a little bit different to what you normally see. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone do a roast in a slow cooker before. I just find it so much easier to do it in the slow cooker. I basically just pop it on, put my other sort of ingredients like my bone broth and that in, which I'll do with you in a moment, and we're ready to go. Put the lid on and that's it. I'll do the potatoes and like the vegetables and things later today, but getting the roast on just early up. And if you've ever used a slow cooker, you'll know that it makes the meat so tender and so soft, it basically just falls apart. So anyway, I won't continue to waffle on, but what I'm going to be doing is popping in a organic beef bone broth. Hopefully you can see that. So this is a beef bone broth. Where I shop, they don't do a lamb bone broth, but that's perfectly fine. It doesn't matter. And basically, this bone broth, coupled with a little bit of flour and corn flour and the slow cooked meat, is actually going to form our gravy. So it's just my very lazy way, my very easy way of making a really delicious gravy to sort of, you know, go with your meat and go all over your vegetables. So we've got our bone broth in the slow cooker. I'm then just going to be using some very plain flour. My flour is gluten-free. If you do not need gluten-free, then use whatever flour you need, but you don't need self-raising or anything like that, just plain flour. So just popping a little bit of that in, and I'm also just going to pop in a tiny little bit, just like that, of corn flour, just to help thicken the gravy up a little bit, that's all. I'm turning my slow cooker to low, and now I'm actually going to add my meat in on top of that. And that is all I'm doing with this roast. So just to recap, we've got the slow cooker on low, and we're going to have it on low for about 8 hours for this sort of size leg of lamb. I think this is about 1.2 kilos. If you have a larger leg of lamb or a smaller leg of lamb, you might need to adjust your time. But for about 1.25 kilos on low, 8 hours, I have just popped some bone broth. I popped maybe 2 tablespoons of gluten-free flour and a half tablespoon of the corn flour in here. with all the marinade, all of the delicious spices. It's rosemary, all of that on it. And I'm just going to pop the lid on like so. And I'm not going to touch this again for 8 hours. All right, well, now that that is on, I'm actually going to start making my breakfast. I think I'm going to make myself an omelette this morning and a cup of tea. So we'll do that together, and I'll sort of show you my omelette. It's a very simple omelette, nothing fancy. And then after I've had breakfast, we might actually go outside and just have a little look around and just sort of see what state the garden is in after that crazy storm last night. So as I said, for breakfast this morning, I'm just going to make a very quick and easy omelette. What I love about omelettes is that you basically can just add anything in it that you've got at home, sort of left over in the fridge. If you've got ham, potato, you know, even like sweet potato or anything like that, you can pop little chunks of that in there. The spring onions, I grow them in my yard, chives, things like that, you can pop in there. I've just got a few little tomatoes here I'm going to pop in. So for my omelettes, I'm actually using 2 eggs. And then for my spices in here this morning, I'm going to be using some ground paprika and just some salt and pepper. As I said, it's just going to be a very quick and easy omelette today. And because I am dairy free, I actually don't put any milk or anything like that in here. I just pop a little bit of filtered water, maybe so a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons of water. You just sort of need to judge it yourself. So I've just added some filtered water in there. Got my whisk, and I'm just going to whisk all of this together. And then at this point, you could just make the omelette just like that with eggs, but if you do have some additional ingredients, I sort of just add them at this point. So I'm just cutting up the tomato quite fine. All right, so that's generally what I would do. Have a little bit of tomato in there. I pop some spring onions, maybe some of my capsicums. If kale is in season, I'd also maybe pop some kale, like break some kale up and pop that in there. But for today, as I said, just a very simple but delicious omelette. And then just over here on the stovetop, I've just got a stainless steel fry pan here. I've popped a little bit of butter in it, so it's just sort of warming up now. I've got the temperature on half heat. I've also got my kettle on for a cup of tea. And so once this is warm enough, I'm going to add the egg mixture in. So as you can see, I've got the egg mixture added in. Now, because I'm dairy free, I don't pop any cheese or anything like that on top. If you can have cheese, you could put a little bit of cheese over it. I'm actually going to be using these savory yeast flakes. They kind of just give it a cheesy sort of flavor. They're high in B vitamins, and I just sprinkle a little bit of that over the top. And then I'm just going to let that cook until it is ready to sort of flip over. And there you have it. That is my delicious omelette for this morning. I just sort of do a thin layer of avocado on top. I know most people would probably slice the avocado on the side. I just find it easier just to sort of spread, spread it over the top like butter kind of. But yeah, so that is it. All right, I'm going to dig into this now, have my cup of tea, and then we will pop outside together and kind of just survey the state of the garden. So we have been very lucky in terms of not getting a lot of damage. there's a lot of leaves and things like that on the ground and just sort of that general sort of debris, but pretty much everything is okay. A few of the pots were knocked over in like the really strong winds and that, and once the storm ended last night, we're able to sort of like go outside and lift them up and sort of right them. But the main damage we have sustained is here. So if you have watched my garden videos before, you will know that this was actually a big archway here that was sort of covered in vines. It was bougainvillea and sort of a fire plant. And I think even like you can see here the wildflowers are fully knocked over. I think even in last week's video you would have seen it. And as you can see, it has just completely crumbled. We got quite, you saw in the footage, we got quite large hailstones. And so it has just snapped, and with that wind, it was just, the wind was wild. Even today, it's still really strong wind. So it's just snapped it. It was a metal frame. I think the weight of the vines, and then with that wind, it's just completely snapped off. So that is the casualty that we have sustained. All in all, very, very lucky. As I said, I'm sure other people had much worse. But I'm obviously very sad to see this arch go because I loved it. But I think it's a great opportunity to we'll be able to put something else there, something else truly beautiful. And it will be exciting to have something sort of new in this sort of section of the garden. I've got mums here today, and what we're going to try and do, it's definitely a 2-man job here, may even be a 3-man job, but we don't have that. What we're going to try and do is just save the plants. So obviously this is all vine here, but the plants themselves were in the dirt on either side of the path. So we're going to see what we can do about at least trying to save the plant. We'll lose a lot of the growth in that, which is not the end of the world, but if we can salvage the plant itself, and then, I don't know, maybe I'll go on Pinterest and look for some inspo pictures. Maybe we'll think of something else to kind of put here, maybe not even an arch, but like a nice big trellis or fencing or something really pretty that if these vines can survive, we can then trail them up over that. So we're going to get going with it now before it gets too hot. And yeah, wish us luck. And if you didn't watch last week's video, Pippa is still here. So Pippa is staying while her family is out of town. And as you can see, she's very happy just pottering around the garden and that. But yeah, she's just an absolute delight to have. We've had her for a few days here now. And yeah, really gorgeous, just so adorable and so lovely to have a dog in the house again. But yes, so that's little Pippa. So if you see her in the footage, that's what's going on. I haven't got a dog, but we're just sort of babysitting a little one for now. And so just having a little look at the rain gauge there, we got 50 mils of rain in like an hour and a half last night. You can hear the helicopters going overhead. I assume they're just trying to assess the damage to the area. But yes, so much rain. But in positive news, the little oranges survived. I did think of them at, there's another one just down here. At one point when the storm was just going and we were getting those hailstones, I just thought, oh no, the oranges. But very, very pleased to see we've got a few that have survived the storm. Oh, so happy. the other unusual casualty of last night's storm. You can see just here, there was a wire that went along here for the cucumber to climb up, but I'm guessing one of the hailstones actually hit it and has broken that wire. So the little cucumber's just hanging there, so you might just run another wire across there. And then that's probably most of the damage. There's a few flower heads that have been, you know, snapped off and things like that where heavy rain or hail have hit them. But otherwise, we were very, very lucky to not have too much more damage. And you would have just seen, I've just pulled out all of the kale. Can you see that butterfly? So pretty. Oh, it was a blue butterfly. I don't know if I got that on camera. I've just pulled out all the kale. It was definitely done and at end of season. We're definitely coming to the end of the growing season. It's always a little bit bittersweet, I think, when you get towards the end. But it's sort of nice to have all the beds cleared and things like that. So, and then prepare for next season. I do want to spend a bit of time, I think, in the off season, this time preparing the soil. I know I was watching Josie's channel and she was sort of putting used coffee grounds and things in the soil, you know, at this time of year when you don't have anything growing, just to kind of boost the soil a bit. So I think maybe I'll try and look into that kind of stuff, and we'll do it together, but just to kind of ready the soil for the next growing season. But over the next couple of weeks, all of these sort of things will start to peter out and I'll be harvesting and doing all that. So again, we'll do it together. And then Mum and I have sort of done the best we could with this situation. So you can see we've sort of cleared it so it's not all sort of, you know, in a mass down the bottom here. And we have left the plant in the ground just here. We've preserved it as best. We have preserved it as best as we can. Some of the garden arch is actually still there, but it's sort of holding the plant up at the moment on either side, just until we can decide what to do with this. I'm just not even sure. I'm wondering if, you know, we kind of move away from like a structured arch like how this was, and maybe do like wooden posts up like a garden arch, and then just as this gets bigger, kind of pull them over to the other side and then go down, so it'll kind of form its own garden arch. I'm wondering if that would be more sustainable for storms and things like that in future. But yeah, so it's definitely looking better. We lost quite a few, so you can see this big wildflower here really sort of took a hit and went over. This has just been staked up, but some, like, look at these flower heads, look how they've bent. It was just, and like this one here, I think it's, anyway, as I said, very, very lucky that we didn't sustain too much damage, all just very, superficial damage, things that can be fixed and repaired. And, you know, I'm going to look at it as an opportunity. It's a great opportunity to try something different with this space. I'm excited to do a little bit of research and see what I think is going to work best here. And whatever I decide, again, we'll do that together in the coming weeks. But the sun is actually quite high at the moment, so I might actually pop inside for a little bit, and then I'll come back out and we'll do a little bit more gardening this afternoon. I've got some fertilizing and things like that to do. I want to try and fertilize the roses and the fruit trees and bits and pieces. So I'm going to pop inside now, but then we'll pop out again once the sun's just gone over it a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to hear on the camera the thunder, but we have another storm rolling in. So I've just popped outside quickly just to make sure I didn't leave anything out here earlier today, expecting to come back out this afternoon, and just to close up the potting shed. And I had a few things on the line, so I just wanted to get all of those off. So I'm going to do a quick whip around before it hits. If I just show you, can you see the black coming this way. But while I was out here having a little whip around and making sure everything was sort of safe for the storm, I wanted to have a little bit of a heart-to-heart with you. I know I touched on this in last week's video, but I really wanted to say thank you so much for all of your support on my recent videos. It just means the absolute most to me. I'm quite new to YouTube. I've only been sort of putting videos up for maybe just over 3 months now. So not very long. So it's definitely a learning experience for me. And I've really enjoyed it, and I've really enjoyed being able to share with you all these. You know, when you like videos or, you know, you interact with comments and things like that, it makes me so happy. And, you know, I do think of you all who watch as friends. You know, in today's video, as an example, when I'm in the kitchen and I'm popping the roast on, I really do think of you as my friend, you know, in the kitchen with me, and I'm sharing how I do my roast, or, you know, sharing the storm damage today, and being able to share those moments with you means a lot to me. Particularly, I think, as someone who is introverted and who isn't very social. And I really just wanted to say thank you so much. And I hope you sort of, you know, you're really enjoying the videos, and you're enjoying getting to spend this time with me and getting to know me a little bit more, and that you think of me as your friend as well. And, you know, the things that I'm sharing, I hope you get takeaways from that, you know, with the cooking or just the gardening or the little things that I get up to on the weekends. I hope that they bring you a little bit of joy. And in the interest of us being friends, I would love to get to know you guys all as well. So if you feel comfortable and it's something that you would like to do, leave me a little comment down below and just sort of share whatever you'd like to share. You know, maybe let me know where you're from or something that you enjoy doing. You know, do you like to read? Are you into gardening? Do you love cooking? I would really love to get to know you all a little bit more. And again, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all of your support, and thank you for subscribing and, you know, tuning in each week and watching my videos. It just, it's a really lovely experience being able to share my little life with you all, and, you know, the things that I enjoy and the things that bring me, you know, peace and happiness, and you've all just been very, very kind while I'm learning, you know, YouTube, and it's been a really delightful experience. And I just wanted to thank you all very much for that, and just to share a little bit, I suppose, about myself, and just that I really value having you all. And, you know, when you subscribe, it means the absolute world to me, and it really helps with that sort of feedback about what videos you're enjoying and what I should, you know, continue to share. So yes, if you are comfortable and you would like to share a little bit about yourself down below, please do not hesitate. I will be very excited to read your comments and just to get to know a little bit about the people who, you know, I'm spending time with every single week. You know, we're choosing to spend this time together. And anyway, I won't continue to go on, but everything's looking really good out here. So that storm looks like it is much closer. So I'm just going to pop inside now, and maybe I will start the vegetables for the roast. That probably seems like a good use of my time, considering I'm not going to be able to get back out into the garden today. Just giving Pippa all of the little belly rubs. She does not like the storms at all. She was very scared last night. You actually might have seen a few clips of her. She had her little whale with her in her mouth, and she was just holding it, running around, terrified. I guess it's the noise for dogs. None of my dogs ever worried about storms, but yeah, she definitely does not like it. You can see right now she is very relaxed, getting all of the belly rubs. Now I'm just annoying her. Look at her side-eyeing me. Can you hear the thunder? I'd say it is going to be just a very cozy afternoon. But we shall continue on and we'll do the roast and that together, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll have a nice day and we have to head outside and finish off the last little bits. Goodness me. Now, I got a little bit distracted chatting with Mum, so I actually didn't do the vegetables with you, but you have seen, you know, roast potatoes and things, I'm sure, done a million times. All we basically did was just obviously peel all the vegetables that need to be peeled, cut them up, and then we popped them in these, there's like an electric fry pan, I think that they're called. And we've just got them in 2 of these. Just instead of popping them in the oven, it's just so much easier to clean these than it is to clean out the oven if any of the liquid and that kind of spits. So the vegetables, as you can see, just went into the electric fry pans. We put a little bit of oil, some water, and then I did, what did we do? Salt, pepper, paprika, and I think some garlic, some like organic garlic powder over the top. So they are looking absolutely delicious. And then this is our little roast. Pretty much done in there. So it's almost time to dish up. And so I'll show you how the roast sort of pulls apart. Oh, the smell. If only smell translated through the camera would be amazing. It just smells just incredible. I love a roast. Definitely one of my favorite meals is a roast. And so as I mentioned earlier, the roast leg of lamb we got is an easy carve, so there is actually no bone here. So what they do is just sort of bind it together with these little bits of string. So Mum is just cutting along the string there, obviously, so we can sort of cut it and we don't eat the string. And then you will see here that the meat is just so soft and tender. It's just so good, so good. And there you have it. It basically just falls apart. Roast in the slow cooker is definitely the one. The only thing is, if you like your roast to sort of have a crispy exterior, like if you're doing like pork or something like that and you want to have that sort of crispy kind of crackling exterior, you will not achieve that in a slow cooker. The slow cooker really just makes the meat really soft and just, as I said, tender and juicy and just lovely. But yes, so excited, my mouth is watering. I'm so excited. So we actually do have, you probably would have known, we've actually got quite a bit of food here. That is so that we can make some additional plates and have a roast for the next couple of nights for dinner. But look at that. Incredible. So good. Little Pippa is hoping that we drop something on the floor. Good morning. So it is the next day now. You would have seen from, I think I got a clip of the sunset yesterday. After the storm cleared, we were really just treated to a beautiful sunset. And today the temperature has dropped about 6 degrees. So the maximum temperature has dropped about 6 degrees from yesterday after the storms. And it is actually, if you can see there, quite sort of a cloudy, windy, cool day. We haven't had any rain, but it has been quite cloudy. And to me, that signals incredible gardening weather. It just means it's not so hot outside. There's a really nice cool breeze today. So I am going to get stuck into some gardening. I'm thinking, as I mentioned earlier, I've got some fertilizing and things like that to do. So I think maybe we'll do that first. And then after that, I might just do a little bit of weeding and cutting some things back. But yeah, so let's get stuck into it now. I'm just checking in on our resident bees, and they seem all okay. You can kind of see them going in and out there. It is later in the day, so they would have left the hive much earlier this morning. There is definitely sort of activity there, as you can see at the entrance. So very pleased that they did okay in the storms. So this is the rose fertilizer that I'm going to be using. So they're just, as you can hear, like little pellets in there, and I'm just going to go around and just sprinkle all of the sort of roses. We've got all the mini roses through the garden, so I'm just going to sprinkle that, just a very small amount around those plants, just to give them some extra nutrients. So I've just fertilized this rose here in the pot, and you can just see down here I've just sprinkled the little pellets just along the soil there. So that's what they look like, and you can just see them in there sprinkled through on the soil, so that when I water this pot, the nutrients will soak through. So this is the fertilizer I'm going to be using on the fruit trees today. So it's just a organic 5-in-1 fertilizer. I do 2 capfuls just into a 9-litre watering can and basically just water it on. Very simple and straightforward. So I'm going to do that now. I was just doing a little bit of weeding in sort of the vegetable garden area, and would you look at this? It is a proper fern plant just growing out of the wood there. I promise you, if I had tried to do that and tried to plant that, it would never have grown. But look at it, just self-seeded there, doing its thing. I shall leave it there and see how big it gets. Very pretty. It's quite like quite a nice fern too. Gorgeous. We've got some more little tomatoes ready. I shall take these inside. I'm debating, once the tomatoes start to change colour, you can actually take them inside and pop them on your windowsill and they will ripen inside. I'm wondering whether to do that with these before I lose them to the caterpillars. Any more? Oh, there's another little truss up there. Maybe I'll pop inside quickly and get the little garden trug, so that I can pop this truss in one of these little bags to protect it. The caterpillars are out in full force at the moment. Okay, so I've got the gardening little trug here, and I've just got my little bags, so I might just take one of these large bags. They're just reusable, so I sort of just store them in here. And then I also keep these little strings to tie them on. And then basically, this is going to be very hard to do one-handed. What I do, I've got a little helper down here. Hello, Pip. Hey? Hello. You're helping, hey? You want to help put the tomatoes in the bag? Hmm? Good girl. Oop. Good girl. And then I just very carefully slip the bag over and then just tie it on towards the end there. So I'm not gonna be able to do this one-handed. So I'm just gonna pop the camera down and do that, and then I will show you the end result. And there you have it. So that is just that little tiny truss of tomatoes. If you can see them just in the bag there. These bags, as I said, I reuse them, and they're sort of like a kind of cheeseclothy kind of material, but they are pretty much, I don't know if it comes through very well on camera, but they're see-through. So the tomatoes still get sun and all that kind of thing, so they're perfectly fine to just be in those bags until they get big and then they ripen. So whilst I'm outside, I am actually just going to harvest some of these spring onions for lunch. I have harvested spring onions with you before, but there are quite a few new people to my channel, so I thought I would just do it again. So the way I harvest spring onions is I actually just cut them off. So once they're sort of a good size in terms of thickness, let me find one. So for example, this one here is quite a good size. What I do is I actually cut it off down the bottom. I don't pull the whole spring onion out of the ground. I just cut it off quite low and then take the stalk of the spring onion. And what that means is that the spring onion will actually grow back, and I get a continuous supply of spring onions. Because I use them a lot, it's just really handy for me. I know most people tend to pull them all the way out, but you have to constantly be planting spring onions if you do it that way. So this is the way that I do it. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but it just means for me, I get that continuous supply of spring onions. So I'm going to place the camera down and hopefully you'll be able to see what I do. So I'll pop you here. And then I'm just going to cut it off at the base. So you can see that is the spring onion I've harvested there. And then down the bottom here, you'll see there is the little base of the spring onion in there, and it will actually grow back and just grow another spring onion there. So I just get a really good continuous harvest of spring onions throughout the whole growing season. Spring onions are also quite hardy for me here, so I actually get them, for several months outside of the growing season as well. So I'm just going to harvest a few more of those. Okay, so just to show you, they are the spring onions that I've harvested there. That's sort of the thickness that I generally get. And then I will actually pull off these initial leaves here before I cut them up. But yeah, so that's how I do my spring onions. So I don't know how, I don't know if that is something that would work for you where you are, but it really works for me here. And as I said, I've got quite a long growing season. So these spring onions that you're looking at here, they'll almost last me, 9 months or something, this one little crop of spring onions, because I cut them in such a way that I get the continuous harvest. All right, well, we look like we're about to get a little bit more rain. It is actually starting to rain very lightly at the moment, so I am going to head inside. I might actually end this video here today. I hope you have really enjoyed spending the time with me. Thank you so much for choosing to spend the time with me. What did we do today? Oh my goodness, the storm. I hope you like seeing that sort of storm footage. It was such a wild storm that I thought I would film it and share it with you. It was quite incredible. Haven't seen a storm like that in a long time. Then I sort of shared with you how I do my slow cooker roasts. Again, completely works for me, that sort of slow cooker. And because I don't want that, I think I mentioned it, because I don't necessarily want that really sort of crispy outlayer of the roast lamb, the slow cooker, absolute perfection. It just makes the meat really soft and tender. And then, yeah, we've just spent a fair bit of time in the garden, sort of in between all of the storms and showers and all of that. So I hope you have enjoyed all of that. It's been a bit eclectic today. So I'm going to bid you farewell. I will see you next week for another video. We will definitely be continuing with probably a bit of garden content just while the growing season is kind of coming to an end and I'm harvesting and getting everything ready. And then we'll also be working on prepping the beds for the next growing season. So we'll be doing that together over the coming weeks. So I hope to see you in those videos. If you are enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. I really love, being able to interact with you like that. And when I see you subscribe, it's a really great indicator for me as to what content you're enjoying and you'd like me to continue to post and share with you. So without further ado, I will see you next week. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week and a great weekend. Bye.